Ja, wir haben es heute Morgen aus der Distanz hören können. Ein bisschen was von der Druckwelle war auch zu spüren und haben dann aber auch erst wirkliche echte Informationen, so vor einer Stunde auch darüber erst bekommen. 3 Verletzte ganz offenbar, die da gemeldet wurden. Kritische Infrastruktur, die getroffen worden sein soll. Kritische Infrastruktur heute überhaupt wieder im Fokus der russischen Angriffe. Diesmal allerdings vor allen Dingen alles, was mit der Gasversorgung zu tun hat. Odessa auf der einen Seite, zum anderen aber hören wir auch aus Dnipro ein massiver Angriff. Da hat Präsident Zelensky vor wenigen Augenblicken auch ein Video gepostet, was offenbar mit einer Kamera aus einem fahrenden Auto aufgenommen wurde. Da kann man den Einschlag leider Gottes sehr, sehr gut drauf sehen und auch hören. Dabei sind mindestens 4 Menschen getötet worden.
Confirmed that this country is once again under sustained missile attack by Russia for the second time in a week. You'll recall those mass missile strikes on Tuesday hitting 12 cities across the country. Well, something similar is going on now. Unconfirmed reports suggesting that up to 50 long-range cruise missiles were launched from launch platforms in Russia in about the last hour and a half. Air raid sirens have gone off, including here in Kyiv. The app that we use to monitor these things suggests that air raid warnings have been in place across the country. The city administration, the city military administration, that is here in Kyiv, suggesting that 2 missiles have been shot down by air defences, as well as, we understand, 4 drones, and reports had come in that drones had perhaps been launched from the territory of Belarus. I can't confirm that independently. Separate to what is happening here in Kyiv, reports of explosions in Odessa in the south and also Dnipro in the centre of the country. The Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal, saying that gas production facilities are being targeted in the south of the country this time. Reports of injuries, a few, 3 so far in Odessa, up to 8 injuries in Dnipro, including a 15-year-old girl, and reports of explosions as well in the Vinnytsia region northwest of here. And indeed, in the last hour and a half or so, we heard what we thought sounded like the passage of a missile overhead heading in that sort of direction. Official confirmation coming indeed as well from Andrei Yermak. He's the head of the presidential administration, who said this on Twitter: the enemy thinks he will weaken our defences with energy strikes. This is a naive tactic. Ukraine has already withstood extremely difficult blows which have not had the desired effect. And indeed, these attacks, as I say, ongoing. The latest confirmation of that comes on the Telegram social media messaging app from the armed forces of Ukraine, using their account, saying more missiles have been fired from the Black Sea. Remain in shelters.
The strikes yesterday hit infrastructure from Kyiv in the north to Odessa down south, Kharkiv in the east to Lviv out west, and so many points in between. Ukraine's power grid has been connected since June to a couple of neighbouring EU countries with the aim of exporting power to the west. But with the Zaporizhzhia nuclear complex taken offline and extensive damage to the grid, Ukraine now needs Europe to step up.
Before the bombing yesterday, we had around 40% of energy infrastructure damaged, which is quite a lot. And yesterday, according to the information, we have 50 more energy objects damaged, which is also very painful.
With Maria Karapata in Kyiv, with no power at home, she'd gone elsewhere to work and indeed to speak to us.
Right now I'm in the office of my friend, because here right now I have electricity, and for example at my home it's impossible to work and you're just every day trying to catch the light, to catch the internet, water, and so on, so on. And yes, if you talk about routine, it becomes really difficult.
How they can help us now? First, if Ukraine needs more electricity to balance the system, European Union could actually support through the connections which still work with Ukraine. And second, I think this is the most important, is to help Ukraine with energy equipment. Because what we need now is to replace those transformers and cables which were damaged with the new transformers and cables. And here actually everybody could help.
Soon after the war started, during last winter, millions left Ukraine seeking safety abroad. Starved of heat, it could happen again in the coming months. But Maria Karapata will stay, having tried life outside back then, an example of the Russian strikes strengthening rather than undermining resolve.
I can't even imagine what can happen or what Russia can invent to, I don't know, somehow to divide us or to change our opinions, because it was clear from the very beginning of the war. And right now, with the all support of the world, of the of our allies, so we have more power and more strength and more capacity to win this victory, to win this war.
Air raid sirens sound as the first snows fall on Kiev. Ukrainians endured blackouts and freezing temperatures as Russia unleashed yet more missiles against energy facilities on Thursday. Authorities said they were working hard to restore power nationwide after what Ukraine said was the heaviest bombardment yet of civilian infrastructure this week. Kiev resident Diana Zhitko says it will be a tough winter, and she's especially worried about the Ukrainian soldiers.
Jumping on the bus is something millions do daily, but in Ukraine, that routine comes with risk. When the rocket hit, I was getting ready for work with my husband. Thank God, 2 walls saved us. More than 20 people were injured after the early morning strikes. Residential and industrial targets were hit. About an hour south in Zaporizhzhia region, rubble and bodies. A horrific but all too familiar scene. He says he heard the strikes around 3 in the morning, 3 explosions. He could tell it was nearby. The men here are asked how they survive. They say there's no option. It's just how it is. Air raid sirens in the capital are now accompanied by snow and power outages. Repeated Russian strikes on the nation's power grid have left many without heat. Ukrainian officials say 4 cruise missiles were shot down by air defense systems over Kyiv, along with 5 drones.
Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people